And my first thought was this. So the thing was, backup redshirt freshman offensive lineman traveled, had not tested positive all week, traveled, tested positive Friday morning. They found out when they got there. They had quarantined him on the way there just to be safe, and ended up being positive. Florida State decided, nah, doesn't matter what you do, we're not playing this game at all. Even though, as Dabo Swinney has mentioned, everybody has practiced with the team and been around the team until they get a positive. Trevor Lawrence had a positive on Wednesday. He practiced with the team on Tuesday, on Monday. It's not like these players don't practice until they get a negative. They go ahead and practice, and if they get negatives, they continue to practice. If they get positives, they stop practicing. Same thing that Dabo Swinney said. If that's why you have the positive test or the tests in place on Fridays, and that's why you bring 8 more players than you normally do on a road game, is so that if you get there and somebody tests positive, you can still have enough players to play. Now, keep this in mind. Pittsburgh has a ton of positives. The rest of their team still plays the games, still travels. Virginia Tech, the first 2 games of the season, 26 players, 24 players down, still played their games. Their people still came to the games. The opponent still came. Boston College still played Clemson. Notre Dame still played Clemson. Boston College could have said, nah, we're not traveling. Trevor Lawrence has been practicing with the entire team all week. We're not traveling. We're not playing against them. And also, as Quackenbush said on Twitter, there hasn't been a confirmed transmission between 2 teams that's been traced because this player had it, they didn't know about it. Now this player on the opposite end that was guarding him got it and didn't know about it. So, and that's another thing. As Dabo Swinney said, you could very easily test negative on Friday and be playing as a positive player and not even know it. As we've mentioned in this show many times, I've said to my family many times, this is the worst disease, worst virus in history that you don't even know about. You don't even know if you have it. And so what do? Well, you just basically quarantine until proven innocent. I don't know. I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense. But I will say that I can agree with some Florida Staters that, you do in the circumstances, in the state we are in, you want to be more cautious than not. But he didn't, according to Dabo, he didn't play Monday, didn't play Tuesday, got his negative on Monday, was allowed to play on Wednesday, got another negative on Wednesday. And as Dabo Swinney said, yeah, you have symptoms, mild symptoms. If he's getting negatives, are you supposed to keep him out and just, basically not allow him to play, even though that's the rule? As long as you're sticking to the rules and the guidelines set in place, that's what you do. Another thing that Dabo Swinney said is they have these things in place to where you can still play a game unless you have less than 7 offensive linemen or you don't have enough players to suit up. And we know that Florida State still had enough players to suit up. We know that Clemson had enough players to suit up. We know they both had offensive linemen enough to suit up. So they met all the criteria. If you saw on Twitter, they even brought a giant tent and social distance inside the tent. And to cancel the game at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday while you've got so many people already there, I can completely agree with Dabo Swinney. You want to come play us on December 12th, as some people are saying? Foot the bill. You want us to come to you? Foot the bill. You don't want us to come to you? Guess what? You either come to us or we're not playing the game. In Dabo Swinney's mind, the game has been forfeited by the administration of Florida State. Al, I'll get your reaction since, everybody else has gotten their reaction. It's Monday night. I know it's a little bit late, but this is when we do our show. So I want to know, Al, your reaction to that.
Yeah, look, I don't have a whole lot to say about it because everybody with a brain knows what happened this weekend. All right, they know. They can read the tea leaves. Clemson wanted to play the game. FSU really had no desire to play this game. They knew what was going to happen in the game, and they used COVID as an excuse. That's my thoughts about it. And I mean, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating for fans. And if I tell you what, if Clemson's smart at all, they're not playing that game on the 12th. They're not going to do that. They need to be preparing, hopefully, for Notre Dame that weekend. That's the week before the ACC championship. You don't want Notre Dame to have 2 weeks to prepare, and you only have one. They've already beaten you this year, regardless of all the injuries, and we've talked about that. I think Clemson is a superior team, and I think they're going to get their revenge. But you don't want to give them any other advantage that you can possibly do. Can possibly give them. You don't want to get an injury, or anything like that. Clemson would be crazy to play that game. I don't care if Florida State decides to come here to Clemson. I don't think Clemson should have any part of playing that game. To me, it's a forfeit. Move on. Don't worry about Florida State till next year and beat them by 100.
Clemson should not play the game at all. What you say, Houston?
Couple of thoughts here. One, I think this is pretty much the beginning of the end of the Mike Norvell era in Florida State. If you're going to sit here and cast blame on Clemson about having a symptomatic player practicing, which is wrong information, you have ill-informed information that you're spreading. Your team's not buying in to your system. Players are opting out and leaving, and you're not wanting to play the game. This is the beginning of the end. All right, this is the Willie Taggart scenario all over again, and he cannot get control of that locker room. So that's the first thing that I want to point out. Your team is not, or Florida State's team is not buying in. That's why they did not want to play the game. They had so many opt-outs. Secondly, when this narrative shifted from Florida State didn't want to play the game to, oh, well, no one can question their intentions because of COVID, and Florida State hid behind the idiotic journalism of the mainstream media. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it because I know Florida State is just kind of being propped up by a lot of these journalists that are saying you cannot question this. That's a punk move. That's a punk move by Florida State. I'm sorry, that's just a punk move. And I mean, personally, I want to play the game because I want to hang 100 on them this year. I know we shouldn't, and if they don't, I understand. But I want to see Dabo get on the field, look across at Mike Norvell, and say, you're in for one today, buddy. Hang on tight. And I don't care if it's in Tallahassee or Clemson or whenever. If we play them in Clemson next year, run it up. That's all I want.
Now, I'll pass it back to you. Dabo Swinney came out and said he doesn't believe that Norvell or the players had anything to do with this. He thinks this was a failure of the administration. So you think that's just coach speak or just political correctness there?
I mean, in a way, yes and no. I mean, I think that Florida State did, want to play, and maybe it wasn't Mike Norvell's, intent to cancel or anything like that. But I think the people above him saw Tamarian Terry, Marvin Wilson, James Blackman, the 27 other players that they had opt out or get hurt or leave or just check out. I mean, they've got a pulse on this. And look, we don't even see what they might see if they're at practice. If a booster or a donor or someone in the administration goes there and sees just the garbage that might be going on there on the practice field, they may have just been like, yeah, let's take this easy road out, get this game canceled. That's what I think most likely happened. Maybe it wasn't, and I don't think necessarily it was Mike Norvell, but I know someone above him probably did see that.